And, it reached a point where people were saying, listen, even if it's the competitors who win, for God's sake, tell us. And now what does the IEBC chief does? He tells them. And now we have President-elect William Samoei Ruto. Let me get your reactions first to that declaration by Wafula Chebukati, and I'll start with you, Gregory.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really commendable of how we have handled our anxiety as a country, because it has been a very competitive competition between the presidential candidates, and so far so good, despite the small challenges that we have seen. And for me it's really commendable. What I know is that our bodies are not meant to handle anxiety for too long. That is why we reached a point where we were saying it doesn't matter the results, just we need to know for us to move on. Because we don't know how to deal with uncertainty. When uncertainty befalls us as individual, confusion comes in, pain comes in, anxiety rises, and even confusion, you could tell, and a lot of compulsiveness, i.e. you are all over your phone, you want to know what people are saying, you want to know who has information from all quarters. But so far so good, at least now we have the information. Having the information today, I'll tell you for free two things. There are those who have won, and we call it eustress, i.e. a child is born in a certain home. This particular child has to be created space. There will be less sleep because of taking care of the child. On the other side, there is this particular candidate who has lost. So he's nursing his wounds. He's trying to manage those particular expectations. They are now consulting far and wide to see the way forward. So what about the two sides of the divide? One, this particular group that feel that possibly they have won, possibly they've come out. There has been a bit celebrations here and there, like in Eldoret, and it's commendable to express your emotions. Kindly don't hold your emotions, just express them. However, express them in a way that you don't hurt the other, because at the end of the day, he will take an oath of office and he will be the president. If all goes well, he'll become the president of all of us. And I love the goodwill that he has communicated. So it is good to express your emotions, and having to celebrate, having to express your emotions, the positive ones. You have to also know that another person expectations have not been met. Don't allow anyone to grieve because of your own expression of emotions. They may be positive. What about the negative ones? The negative ones, guys, you have to agree with yourself. You have to agree that my expectations have not been met. I am not okay, and don't project. You will see that maybe you've come home and guys are seated there so much in peace, but you've come because your expectations have not been met. You'll find yourself projecting, either denying, I cannot agree that Ruto has become the president-elect. Truly, according to the law right now, Wakili is here, will actually attest that he's a president-elect. So whether you agree, whether you accept or not, move forward, deal with the reality. Don't project, don't hurt another person just because your expectations have not been met. As a Kenyan, as a person, you have to express your emotions, and you have to know that where you are, I'm in pain, I am disappointed, I'm in doubt, and I have always hoped that possibly my candidate will one day become a president. I think for me, be aware of yourself, and more responsibility lies now with the two leaders, both those who have made it and those who have not made it, in managing these particular people's, especially the emotional side. Because for a very long time, a certain group have believed in a certain leader, i.e. Right Honorable, the former Prime Minister. And now we have another president-elect. I think the people around him, I beseech that he can come out and really calm his supporters down. The best way possible is that if he agrees, fine, he says this country is bigger than all of us. For us to actually enhance cohesion, for us to enhance really moving forward, for us, we don't have the luxury of really having the challenges here and there. On the other side, the president-elect, he has a responsibility of possibly in a positive way communicating to the people who actually elected him and who are actually on the other side, agreeing that possibly, guys, we are together, we will move. Even if you didn't vote for me, I'll become your president, in a nice and humbling way, and recognizing that it's a honor that has been bestowed upon him. So the two sides of the divide, we have to be aware. Don't celebrate to hurt another person, because that is where we are. Thank you.
And in fact, he did indicate when he was delivering his victory speech or acceptance speech, depending on which word you're comfortable with, that he did call, the Right Honorable in the morning, and they had a conversation, and they agreed that, whatever way it goes, let us respect the will of the people. But let me bring in Dr. Julian Rowan. It was a closely fought election, and we really waited, although we were inside the 7 days constitutional days. What stood out for you?
I think for me, first to congratulate Kenyans on how they've conducted themselves during this entire process. It just shows the level of maturity of democracy and the electoral process in Kenya, which I think is a demonstration ground for the rest of Africa to emulate or replicate. But having said that, it was closely contested, very closely contested. And sometimes I think when it is very closely contested and you're the loser, it's a lot more painful. Sometimes it's good if you lose the bigger margin, it's easier to accept. So I can just imagine the pain of those whose side may have lost in this particular election, and we must remain sensitive to that. When I was coming to the studio today, I said, I'll have to tone down because the people who are hurting, and we must be sensitive to that. And the fact that it is very closely contested even makes it a lot more delicate. But that also says something about the competitors. They ran toe-to-toe, and they ran very interesting campaigns, which I thought, for lack of a better word, was very, very mature. Kenya is really showing great signs, if you ask me. Now, if you look at what Chebukati has done with this process, for me, I can only say he's done a very, very good job.
Good job.
Yeah, we say numbers don't lie, but I always add the rider that numbers don't lie, but you must trust the process. So if the process works, it will come to the sum total that is expected. And I think the process this time was very transparent in my view. There are a few commotions here and there that towards the tail end something may have gone wrong, but it will be interesting to see what is that may have gone wrong. But up to this point, I think Kenya conducted themselves very responsibly. And I'm very, very proud of that.
Okay, Chebukati was indicted in 2017 by the Supreme Court ruling, that annulled that election. And it's true, what you're saying.
Yes, he did a shoddy job then.
But now we saw him giving a better account of himself.
Precisely.
Yeah. Let me bring in Gibson Gisore. Do you agree with Daktari that IBC this time came out, and what was your reaction when Chebukati announced that William Samoei Ruto was the president-elect?
To tell you the truth, Tom, the fact is I was watching television, and just before that, they said 3, and then I went to 4, and then the choirs were singing, so we didn't know whether we were in charge or what it is that we were expecting. And then finally, before that, commotion happened, and that commotion really took me aback. That aspect of that small commotion is what I think I would want to start with, because it was really ugly, it was un-Kenyan, it was unexpected, because we have really walked a long journey in this election, and I didn't expect people to behave in that particular manner. Having said that, I would want to say that I agree with what Dr. Julian has said, that Kenyans have conducted themselves above board, that this election, people have decided that we are going to an election, we want to have change of power, and they actually went for that. So the result, as whichever way it came out, people will be regretting, others will be rejoicing. It's very important, as the psychologist has said, we take care of the emotions of your neighbor, because that is the person you have. The president or the person who has lost is not going to help you. At the end of the day, we are all Kenyans. We need to anticipate that a friend is hurting or is rejoicing. So we need to have emotions of both sides being taken care of, because that is very important. That's why I still want to go back to my earlier point that what happened at Bomas was before the announcement was wrong, and I don't agree with it. Whatever the issue that was, didn't necessitate chaos, because I just saw the chairman running for his life, and basically that was not good. That was not good. Just before announcing, that was not good. And before the international press, what picture we have conducted ourselves very well, only for the at the very end we find ourselves spoiling it. Yeah. That I didn't like it. And then of course to just tell Kenyans is there that elections come and go, as the president-elect was actually saying. I think you noted, if you listen to him, he was actually speaking to Kenyans that I want to be checked. I will invite the opposition to come and check me. I think that was a very presidential speech he made, and I read his emotions, that he knew he can't come out in a strong way to say that this thing I've won, and let's do it. And he even hung around Bomas for the longest time, trying to tell people, the act that he was sitting there passively waiting to be given the certificate showed that the man has some humility, and that we have to commend you for that. And he's riding with the moment, in that people, there is half the crowd which is for me, there is half the crowd which is not for me, and these are all the people I want to lead.
Tell me, you want to jump in?
Yeah, Tom, there's something you mentioned that I thought is important for us to explore a bit. You talked about the phone call in the morning that were exchanged between the deputy president and
his worthy competitor.
And that's a beautiful thing to have. But I would have been more excited if I was told that there's another phone call that happened after the announcement of the results. I'm still very hopeful that will happen.
That would happen. And let me ask you, because Wakili spoke about, initially IEBC indicated that the results would be out at 3 p.m. And 3 came, 3 went. And then it shifted to 4. But then, Chebukati indicated that he had extended an invitation to all the presidential aspirants. So we saw David Waihige Mwaura, who had conceded. Yeah. We saw Roots Party, presidential candidate there. And we also saw the president-elect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Raila's absence was conspicuous. At that point, what sense did you get? Was it perhaps the reason why they kept shifting the times, managing, hoping that he would appear? Or what came to your mind?
Most likely, the message being sent out by his being absent is that there's something about the entire process that he may not have been happy or comfortable about. Yeah. That's my intelligent guess. Whether it was the right thing to do or not, I think the jury is still out there. Okay. But it would have been my wish that he would have been present, just like all his other competitors as the announcement is being made, because that would have shown some level of cohesion amongst all the competitors. And now that he didn't attend, I think it is something that we need to revisit, so that if there's any damage that is occasioned, it can be repaired.
It can be repaired.
Yeah, because it doesn't send a very good message, in my view.
Yeah, and his absence actually was, a bit difficult to contain. His supporters. I remember getting a few calls from some people and asking me, so what's going on? And so on. But we immediately thereafter saw, and I want to Wakili's reaction to this, we saw the chief party agent actually calling a presser. And he made some comments. Yes, and he was worried.
I think I was watching that, and I saw Saitabo raise some serious issues about the sanctity of the process. I think earlier he had gone and took the mic and said these are crime scene. Of course, he didn't say why. He was saying Bomas was a crime scene. Those are some of the allegations, I think, which when they are put out there, then they raise the temperatures of Kenyans. And then, of course, thereafter, I think they did a presser with the likes of Orengo and the other people at Bomas. They were really sad, and they were saying that they are being asked to sign Form 34C without actually seeing how they arrived at that. I think they were saying that they were not fully part of the process of verification process. I don't know at what point they stopped being part of the verification process because they had the agent. And, this being the chief agent for Azimio, then of course when he says that, you cannot doubt that there must be some truth to it.
And just out of curiosity, the Form 34C is the sum total of all the 34 A's.
Yes. Yeah. That is the one now which they have to sign. Once they have signed, then that is the final document which is actually given out there.
Okay. Let me bring in Gregory, because immediately thereafter also we saw another press conference by a section of the commission members.
Yeah.
But what I liked, and I know Wakili will weigh in on this one, what I liked was at the tail end of the press conference, after saying we don't agree with our colleagues and creating almost what looked like a rift within the commissioners, she ends it by saying, please stay calm, stay peaceful. So the word peace is currency in this country now. We seem to have embraced it, because even earlier on when I was talking to one of our reporters in Kisumu, in the background I could see a sense of, and pictures don't lie,
true.
There was peace. He indicated, yes, few incidences here, and you told us that it's sometimes good to release that energy rather than suppress it.
Yeah.
But that stood out for me. Did it for you as well?
True. I would still go ahead and really say that it's really we have quite grown, and the level of awareness that was exemplified by this section of commissioners who did not agree with others, I think for me it was expressed in the right way. They came and they really said so, and how the demeanor they carried and how they communicated it, and even saying the opaqueness of the whole process, but also advocating, guys, we have to be peaceful.
We have to be peaceful.
That represents a lot of awareness of themselves and even the environment that they are relaying this information to. Because subsequently we've seen our leaders in the formally in different political sides of the divide really uttering some words that really could have been like putting petrol on the fire.
Yeah.
But these commissioners have exemplified a level of awareness and a level of maturity that is admirable. And I really commend them.
Commend them, yeah. And it's a common thread that I thought, in my view, cut across. Because everybody who was given a microphone kept saying, proud of how Kenyans have conducted themselves. And we listen even to people who I prefer not to mention have been very polarizing in their style of politics, but they were also coming out and saying peace. So peace becomes the sum total of what defines this election.
If you look at the historicity of the whole process as Kenyans, we are coming from a point where we actually saw that this country can go down the drain. 2007, 2008, coming to 2013 all the way to 2017. I think Kenya, we have a heightened level of awareness of ourselves and our country and issues that really pertain us, and we're dealing with them with a lot of maturity. It is so clear that yes, this is a political process. We have to end it and go back to our work.
Is there some sense of fear in your view?
I am
the kind of fear that we didn't see Daniel and the lion's den.
I am not seeing, if there is fear, it's at the top notch. That if the responsibility, like what we saw in the ICC case, saying that possibly you're here not because you did it, but because we perceive you. The question of perception. We perceive you as a total leader, or as a leader, as a responsible person in this particular item. I could. There is a sense of fear of at the top, but down here there is a lot of awareness. When you go into the villages and you hear the kind of conversations that are going there, there is a lot of awareness.
How about that instinct of, you know what, I don't want to jump in there, because if I jump in there, it's going to be trouble for me and my family. So a sense in which that fear is there, but it's the fear that is good, and then it holds you back. Based on the history of the country.
I would really define it as an awareness.
Awareness, okay.
When I have A and B, and I analyze A and I'm comfortable with the analysis of it, I analyze B and I'm comfortable with the analysis of it. And those two positions are here. And out of an awareness, out of a choice, out of a desire, out of an understanding, a deep understanding of the issue, I pick one that really sustains life and really adds value to life. I think for me that really represents awareness, and I love what Kenyans we've really done.
Excellent. Now, before I come to Dr. Julian Rowa to comment about the tweet that Azimio running mate Martha Karua posted on a timeline saying it's not over until it's over. Let me come to you, Wakili. Broadly, by and large, the Kenyans have appraised IEBC, right? And when they compare IEBC 2017 to IEBC 2022, they've given it a B or an A, depending on what you're seeing, okay? In terms of their processes and how they've managed, and the fact that they opened up their processes. Do you think this country is ready for a post-election audit policy that then would go and address issues of anxiety, bringing it down, and spiking up trust? Because that seems to be an issue that we are grappling with as a nation.
I think this is the right time. This is the right time because the 2017 report, came out recently by KPMG, and there were a lot of glaring issues there, but Kenyans now were able, the fact that that report could be able to be brought to the public and released, it was actually an act of openness and an act of accountability from the part of the IBC, and that's why Kenyans have said this time round IBC has performed its part. If there's any failures, those are due to some mistakes which are bound to happen because of either organizational issues or people, you're dealing with human beings. IBC does not have officials everywhere. Sometimes it relies on some other people who cannot be very truthful, and then the law takes its course. We've seen some officials actually being taken to court in that particular regard. So, as to your question, this is the right time because we need to have an audit which will of course tell us where we stand, where we can self-analyze ourselves. Dr. will tell you in corporate organizations, there's nothing like doing a thing and just going. You have to audit. You have to always audit and then be able to realize where were the mistakes conducted. And for once, IBC has been commended because it has been able to engage itself, to have a conversation with itself and its stakeholders about the previous elections. And then they have arrived at a scenario whereby they are saying, we need to do this better. The 2017 elections were a sample, they were null. They didn't want to get back there. So they had to do a lot of engagement. And that led to them auditing the system and actually seeing where the failures actually were, and then they were able to amend them. Some of the failures could not be amended because of financial challenges or maybe sometimes timelines, but by and large, we have to give it to them that these people actually were out to do an election, and an election which is credible.
Which is credible.
Yes.
Do you feel like that was more that came through as a result of, the Maraga ruling.
Yes, very much so.
Nothing to do with self-auditing.
Yes, very much so. But then, just I've highlighted to the fact that also the Maraga ruling is separate. But then, that of course laid things bare.
Yeah.
That, you cannot. There were some basic minimums which you can't go under.
Yeah, true.
So Chebukati was given a pedestal on where to start from.
True.
And then the audit report by KPMG, I think if you get a chance to look at it, it also laid bare some other glaring issues which happened in the 2017 election, which led to the Maraga issue happening. So they were able to compare the two documents and actually be able to say, now, this is how we're going to conduct this election if we don't want it to be annulled.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think, because there's always been that conversation around, where are the servers? Where are they? Are they still in France? Are the French still asleep? Do you get a sense that opening up this process this time around was a huge plus?
It was a huge plus. It actually gave them a very outstanding commendation, because now people are like, if I want the results, I just need a calculator and then I will be doing my thing. But that proved to be very cumbersome. And then it also exposed Kenyans to how difficult the process is for Chebukati and team. So people were like, now, let him do it. We don't want to do it. Let him do it and he will tell us. They were now comfortable that whatever he's doing is actually for the good of the country.
Yeah.
So it absolved him of the blame of the issue of waiting for 7 days. People understood that. And then whatever he kept doing, he put it out there. He put it out there for all and sundry to see. That's why I think at this level, in 2017, people could be in the streets jumping up. But then now nobody's interested. They just give us the result, because we have seen what you're doing. We have seen you've given us the assignment. We've realized it's very difficult. Just give us the answers. We just want the answers whichever way. We are okay. So that has assured Kenyans and given them the contentment that, there's nothing to hide here. There's really nothing to hide here. This man is doing his job.
It's an open secret. You wanted to add something?
Yes, there is something very, very, very important from a human perception. When a process is happening and you agree people to interrogate the process, it creates a lot of goodwill. It creates a lot of understanding. It creates a lot of cohesion. And for me, the Commission has actually come out and communicated to Kenyans that we are open to be questioned. And this has created confidence within different parties that were included. Why? Come, critique me. This is the process. This is my goal. And while I'm heading there, critique me. Ask me question, I'll answer you. So having a system, what Daktari has said, that numbers don't lie, but the process is very key. That is why we are where we are this particular moment. Because these particular commissioners or under Chebukati, they agreed that to form a perception that we are doing this particular process and we want everyone to be included. Yes.
Yeah, you talk of openness, but we also know that there was a presser that was called by a section of the commissioners who said that openness, no, we saw more of opaqueness. And that is coming at the tail end of the entire process. Okay? Against the background that the election is going to be won at the polling station.
Yes.
Okay? So I'll open this one up to any of you. What would be the legal consequences of that separation of commissioners on such an important exercise like this, Wakili?
I think...
Can it puncture a hole on the results and consequently the declaration that was made by Chebukati, or is it a non-starter?
I wouldn't call it a non-starter, and neither would I authoritatively say that it, of course, now makes whatever Chebukati declared and issued certificate, or to whom he issued the certificate, null and void. Because the standing orders or the IBC Act comes into play where says that the commission needs to conduct itself in a particular manner, and it outlays the manner in which they're supposed to do this. One, they're supposed to have regular meetings, which I think it's not the dispute. They must. We saw the mat bombers every now and then. And then secondly, it says whatever decision they come up with must be either by concurrence. And then thirdly, it says if it's not by concurrence, it should be one or which is majoritarian, so that we have 7 commissioners, we need to see the majority actually agree to that. Now, I don't know at what point these other commissioners decided to bolt, whether it's after they were meant to sign for something. I don't know. That part I don't understand.
Oh, it's not very clear.
It's not very clear to me, so that's why I said I cannot authoritatively say whatever it is that they were protesting against. At what point did it start?
Okay, brilliant. Although the president-elect did indicate that the law is the law. Yes. And that the law requires Dr. Julian that, he's the chief officer in this election process, and once he announces, then he meets the
No. Well, I must respectfully disagree with the president-elect. There is the letter and the spirit of the law. The letter of the law may say this is the person charged with ABCD, but he's running an organization which I believe must have internal policies that guide how it functions. And there's a minimum I would have thought, like we said, numbers don't lie. I would have expected that all commissioners are saying the same numbers. And there's a minimum, they're signing onto a document confirming that that is the true reflection of the will of the people. I don't think the law should be prescribing every step or every process along the way on how something should be conducted. The law will give you the broad understanding of the what do you call it? But then operationally, you must figure out how you are going to function internally to meet that particular requirement. And Wakil, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So saying that the chief, Chebukati, and here I really must say he let us down. Saying that Chebukati is the last say, yes, in law that is the fact. But would have been so much more assured if we saw all the other commissioners
on board.
That's number one. Number two, it's very disturbing, and I don't think this is something Kenyans should take lightly. Commissioners disagreeing on what everybody else thinks should be obvious.
Oh, yes.
You get me? I would just want, I just want to reiterate, Tom, that commissioners are not put in office to serve factional interests. Maybe at the point of appointment, there's a faction that has actually nominated you to sit in there. But the minute you take position or occupancy of a position, then you're serving public interest. And this I'm referring to both sides of the commissioners.
Both sides.
Those who went ahead and announced these results.
And the other ones who
both of them are guilty of this. This is, for lack of a better word, and I have to say this, very irresponsible.
Very irresponsible.
And they must be brought to, we must call them out for that.
Before I come to Gregory, because you see, as media, we got a lot of flack when we were posting some figures. All right? Media house A posting this, media house B. And then now we are seeing the body mandated to run the election, almost disagreeing. So I'm not sure whether that vindicates us, but you'll tell us that. Let me come to you, Daktari, because I'd asked you the question of the Twitter post of the Azimio's running mate, where she said it is not over until it's over. What do you think that means, and what should we expect?
Martha Karua, a politician I really respect, and she's my role model. I just thought I should put that out there. And I've become such a big fan of what she says and how she goes about her business. When she says that, probably she knows something that we don't. And the fullness of time will help us know what it is that she's referring to. Anything that I say now would just be probably prejudicial to what she's trying to do, or just what I may call my personal thoughts. But it is not helped. What Martha has just said, it is not helped by the conduct of the commissioners. Because then I'm also, just as a spectator, I'm also saying she may have a point here. Why do we have a certain clique of commissioners not agreeing? Why do we have a certain clique of commissioners rushing to do their announcements? That is a bit untidy. And so it may raise some questions around the legitimacy of the entire process, even if it was fully legitimate. So Martha Karua may be speaking of something that she knows. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
But I want to still remain confident and optimistic that the process was as fair and as transparent as anybody would have wanted it to be.
So time will tell.
Time will tell us that.
Yeah, Gregory.
Yes.
The question of, I mean, there is that cardinal principle of good faith. That even us as media, when we are, doing our tallying and doing reports, we mean well. All right, because we are holding brief for our audiences and our people.
True.
Yeah, but we got a bit of flack. All right, but now we are seeing the IEBC, the body itself. Does that vindicate us? And what's going on? I mean, what's in the back end? What's the psychology there?
Possibly I would want more to dwell on the perception versus what it was generating. Because I have to contextualize issues for us to possibly understand the reason why things happened the way they happened.
Yeah.
Because the Kenyans and the country that we understand very well, we had different media houses moving at different speeds due to other factors that maybe in terms of resources, in terms of the capacity to actually even understand and even interpret those particular forms.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to contain is this particular conversation, and Dr. will actually ascertain to this, that whatever I interpret as a person from the environment, it informs my next course of action.
Correct. Yeah.
If I interpret that possibly these people are not agreeing, believe you me, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be where we are today. Because maybe we would be having another section in the streets or saying we are agreeing with media X, we are disagreeing with media Y. So I think for me it was prudent for what the media agreed to actually bring down the display of the numbers and agree possibly the commission to actually represent and really chart the way forward for us to have a conclusive and inclusive conversation. Because failure to that, different sources of information would have communicated confusion, would have communicated doubt, would have communicated lack of goodwill. But having done what the media did, I think for me it's commendable, because they allowed Kenyans to have a certain conversation in a certain way, in a way that it's manageable, in a way that has allowed us to be here today.
Okay.
Because for me, information is really, really important. How it is relayed, what is relayed, why it is relayed, at what point is actually very, very, very important. So for me, it was really, really, really commendable that subsequently we can learn that possibly even the media can actually agree to come together and work together to a level that they are agreeing, as in we are on this particular, such that we would see these numbers really tying, and truly would agree that whatever you're doing there from this particular source of information, from this particular raw data, I think it would really vindicate that the process was really, 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 really nice. I think for me, those are my comments.
Tom, if I may come in a bit, there's also some aspect which we need to agree on, that the aspect that the IBC asked the media houses to stop tallying was not solely because of the who is ahead, who is behind. There came a time when they realized that some of the forms actually had defects, were defective. And then they could not leave it to the media to continue broadcasting such data, which of course had not been verified. So they needed to withdraw backroom and actually verify the documents, ensure that the documents received the original from whoever came with it. Once it has been verified, then they uploaded them the correct forms. I think they should have done that before allowing the media to actually start doing the tallying, which could not make any sense anyway because they have already done it.
Okay.
I think it was also a very technical retreat, which was to save face, because that could have gone really bad and it would have caused a lot of problems.
Okay. Let me. I mean, you see, Martha Karua tweeted, "It's not over until it's over." So you get a sense that we are likely perhaps to see a petition at the Supreme Court. And I just want you to do, I know there are people who know what happens, but as an advocate of the High Court, just paint for us a picture how, in the event there's a petition, what will it look like?
The petition, of course, I think I will encourage them actually to go for a petition, because given the happenings of the last minute towards the declaration, it doesn't inspire somebody to actually believe in the sanctity of the process to the very end. Because we saw actually one side come out clearly and say, we are not happy, we are being asked to do 1, 2, 3, which we have not seen how this has been arrived at, so we feel this is wrong. That, of course, delayed the process, and they are entitled to go to court. All the elections since 2010 constitution, we have seen people go to court. So it's very normal. Kenyans are well appraised that, court is a normal thing now. At least we know the truth, because through the court, jurisprudence comes out which helps to shape the process next time better. Because of the 2017 elections, we actually do have very quality jurisprudence which Chepukati was used to rely on to come up with a credible election. So if there are some mistakes, which we're not saying there aren't, we need to see them litigated. We need to see them brought out, and the best way to bring them out is not in a public fora, is actually to collate these particular issues, present them before a competent court, that is the Supreme Court. Let's have a week of back and forth, everybody come on board and explain himself, because that will also be guaranteeing Chebukati to also come clean. Why was he being chased around? We talked of, when he was giving a speech, he also mentioned that some of his officials have been picked from the floor and they are not known where they are.
Some have disappeared.
And
they don't know where they are.
So those are the things which need to be litigated in court. Those circumstances around those, whoever is responsible will also become there, and then they explain themselves. So that we have clarity. That's a kind of an audit through the court system, which of course will help us shape the next election better, so that we continue concretizing this process of us Kenyans. And you see, the aspect of having a court which is independent is very important, because it now shows that our arms are working. And the Kenyans have trust and faith in the courts. So let them have their day in court. If Mother Karua is saying that it's not over, if she is contemplating going to court, let her have a day in court.
Let her have a day in court.
Let that be decided.
Okay, let me ask you, just a quick one. There's this principle of the chief agent for Azimio said in a press conference that they were not going to sign.
Yes.
But is it true that in law there is this thing of, given the bigger interest, that you can sign, but in protest, knowing fully aware that you'll be going to court anyway? Is it applicable in a case like this? You can sign under protest. Does it work?
Yes.
Is there something like that? No, I'm just asking. I'm curious.
Yes.
Because there's this thing of, you can sign, but you indicate. I don't know how you indicate. I don't know that it's a signature. So that when you go to court, the court can interpret and see, yes, this was in protest, under protest.
Yes, that is very possible, because in the legal circles, when we deal with documents, we have legal timelines, we have legal connotations. So if a party, for example, I'm in court with you, and you're supposed to file your documents within 15 days. You file them within 21 days. Then you serve me, like you've already surpassed the threshold of the time which you're supposed to use. Then I'm mandated, but since you are at my door, I can receive and actually sign and say, these I received under protest, and I'm at liberty when I appear in court to actually mention as much that you see, I received the document, yes, but they were out of time and I received them under protest. So it's upon the court to interpret that as it may.
As it may?
Yes, but I've been served, and there's no way I cannot say, no, I am not receiving, because I'm under duty to also receive them.
Exactly.
And given that they are at my door, I cannot be able to say that they are. So there's that aspect, there's that connotation that they should have if they opted to, but that is a personal choice now. It's not a mandatory. Then the other aspect, you can actually abstain and say, no, I can't do it.
So abstaining is also a choice. Fine. Okay, all right. So let me ask you the parameters. Timelines, 7 days.
7 days.
In the event of a petition, what else?
in the event of a petition, we have 7 days. They have 7 days to compile a petition, which is very, I think, but then the process is now easier given the openness of the server. Because now everything is in the server. You just need to pick and compare with your agents, whatever it is that they have, and then they do statements. And then you compile a compendium of a petition which is going to be filed. The sooner the better. And then after that, the Supreme Court has got 7 days to decide that. And after that, then once the decision is out, then it's not appealed. We have 7 days to swear in the president-elect.
All right. Okay. You wanted to say
go to an election again.
Gregory, you wanted to go in?
Yes. What Martha Karua has said. What for me, I'm looking at the leadership is really understanding that what I say is actually very, very important. How I say it is very, very important. When I say it is very, very, very important. And we basically have a history in this country. And as a leader, I have to be cognizant of my communication. Because what I communicate really creates a perception, throws in some energy. So as a leader, I think for me, I beseech our leadership in this particular country that I have to be cognizant of what I'm saying. Yes, there is freedom of expression, but I have to be cognizant at my level of understanding things and at the level of Mwananchi understanding things. I think for me, our leaders have to be cognizant of what they are saying. There are some, it's in the public domain, like that somebody's an elder. You're an elder. There is freedom of expression. But what are you really saying? What kind of phrases are you pressing outside there? I think for me, I beseech that our leaders, our elders can actually exemplify that. They can actually give a direction. Because a time comes when we have to sit on the table. And sitting on the table, how we have been, what we have communicated, what we have not communicated becomes part of the equation of what can come out of the table. So I think for me, it is a high time that our leaders understand they cannot not communicate.
So they have to communicate, because I heard somewhere, a general has to lead his troops. But there's also that mantra that nature abhors a vacuum. So if you don't speak, then you open up a space for speculation to now start thriving.
True. So my desire is that our leadership, especially, let it cut across, including the church, including our leaders. Let them be cognizant of that. The information I'm relaying there is actually something that is being taken by our community, and we are gifted differently to analyze things differently, and the implications can be different.
And the implications. And you talk about church. I just want to you see, Daktari, in the 80s, I think, 80s, you remember, you talked about the clergy. You remember the likes of Bishop Henry Okulu, Bishop Muge, and in fact, Muge, Joya, and so on and so forth. Muge, Ndingi Mwana Nzeki, Bishop Muge told, was it Okondo, that I will come. And Okondo told him, if you come, you will see. You will see.
You won't come back.
Right? You will come back. And sadly it happened. But the point I'm bringing out is there is a contribution that those men of cloth made in the 80s, in the social and economic space, reforms and so on and so forth. So if you look back and you see the clergy today, what would you say about them? Because I was super excited when I saw them at the Bomas, quite frankly. And I think they've done a good job. But from where you sit, what are you saying?
I'm a Christian, but I'll say this. We have clergy for hire. That's what we see today.
What do you mean? Daktari?
We are not driven by a self-consciousness that forces you to look at life in the eyes of others. What do I mean by that? If you look at the Muges of this world, if you look at the Joyas of this world, and Bishop Gitari they were very selfless in their agitation for change.
Yeah.
And they did it at a time when it was very dangerous to do so. It is not as dangerous today,
True.
but they still did it. And people like Ngugi paid for it with their lives. Since that generation of church leadership left us, there's nothing that comes close to anybody who stands up strongly to defend the common person from the excesses that are visited on them by those who govern us. And so we have situations where you speak to an Uber driver and they give you their plight, their day-to-day plight, from 1,000 shillings what they take home, the cost, the expenses of running that particular, little car, and the unofficial taxes that they have to pay so that they can be on the road. And then they have to deal with the high cost of living, and there's no one who stands up to speak on their behalf.
Wow.
That is really painful.
That is really painful.
Or you walk into a supermarket one Sunday afternoon and you find long queues in this upmarket supermarket, and everybody is buying 2 bags of unga. And then when you ask, why is there such a renewed interest in buying 2 bags of unga, and somebody will volunteer and tell you, oh, the prices have come down to 98 shillings per bag. Or it was 210. And we fear that after the elections, it will go back to 210 and over. But there's nobody in a leadership position to come out and speak on behalf of the masses. The church has lost direction where the voice of the people is concerned. Yeah, that's my take. And
Gregory, do you get a sense, just listening to Daktari, that indeed the church, in terms of contributing to the political, social reform space, they are not worth their weight in gold? Do you get that sense?
I would attest that I'm a Christian and a disgruntled one. Why am I saying so? Is because I've been fortunate. I served Ndingi as an altar boy.
Wow.
I was that fortunate. I held his either mitre or crosier.
Wow.
In St. Joseph Mukasa Parish. That's where I am. But seeing what our church is, I think they need, with a lot of respect, they need to be a voice of reason. When I see Njoya and I listen to him, even today, the Njoya that I saw, I'm so proud of being seated here and saying what I'm saying, because they were brave enough to actually articulate things in a space where it was so dangerous, and they appeared and they fostered a certain conversation that has placed us here. I think maybe as a society we have to question our consciousness, the tenets that really forms that consciousness. Are we really in control of ourselves? What are we perpetuating? Because it's either we are running away from ourselves and it has contributed. Essentially, historically, when you look at the church and the government were one, but we agreed that possibly these two need to be separate. When the government and when the church are separate, and they need to have a good check and balance. But today, what we see is actually not there. And for me, the men on the cloth listening to us, we love you, we respect you, and I love what the president-elect has said. We don't criticize you because we don't love you. We appreciate you. You're part of us. You really have held our families together. In the hour of need, you've been there for us as a society. But hey, kindly, we wish that you can be much of help to us as a society.
In fact, criticizing is almost like feedback. Someone looking at you and saying, no, you have so much potential and you're not hitting that stratosphere.
Correct.
So it comes in form of criticism.
Exactly.
True. So it's possible that criticism is a good thing.
Yes, and we do it because we care.
Yeah. We are coming from a position of love.
Exactly.
But woe unto you when you criticize somebody who is not aware that when you see something in me and you pinpoint it, it's because of love. Because if I don't interpret it this way, it will come out as you're castigating me, you're not respecting authority. They'll ultimately go into defense. Which is a negative thing. I want to be told by my spouse. I want to be told by my kids. I've never been a father.
Not you.
I've never been a father. So this kids God have given me, I have to open my ears because that represents maturity.
Yeah.
So for me, I beseech that the church or anyone listening to us, we can agree to feedback, positive or negative. It informs us and it makes part of the evaluation that possibly that is ever proposed. So for me, let's have the human humility.
Yeah. Before I go to Wakili, I mean, the counter argument would be based on something that I stumbled upon, would be that the person criticizing you has seen you and he has seen a certain trait, okay, that bothers him extremely. And so he is projecting what is suppressed in him. It has nothing to do with you. Okay? All right? And I remember you told us about sometimes when we were conflicted and we are troubled, or when you see, you remember the 2007, and I raised this with you, that you see an officer hitting a child. So what is going on through the officer's mind? Is wounded childhood, the child inside him. So sometimes it's the criticism that comes to you, all right, or the criticism that goes to the leadership, or the view that the leadership hold about the majority, may be coming from deep inside, and it's just being projected. Is that an area that because we're opening up conversations now? I would look at it from different aspects. Yeah. One, who is it coming from? Yeah. All right? And how concerned are you about what you're talking about? I.e., the livelihood of the common mwananchi. Our government not respecting the court rulings, and because you represent an authority. The church represent an authority, and that one cannot be disputed. It's one of the estates. The first one is? Is it the government? The second one? I think media is the third. No, media is the fourth.
The fourth, yes.
Media is the fourth, isn't it?
So for me, the church needs to be cognizant of where this particular criticism is coming from, and when is it presented? Okay. Because through that you'll be able to analyze whether it's actually authentic or real to actually listen to it. Okay. Because here I am, I've come weird hours of the night. Possibly I'm coming from my, having fun and whatever. But I'm a family man.
You're a family.
Does it really agree with the philosophy of the family? Because for me, the car has four wheels because of the principle of the balance. Yeah. So I think it's a high time, especially the mainstream churches, to engage and really ask themselves. Okay. This that we are seeing from our people, because on Sunday they'll see us. And I'm happy with what Dr. is saying, that possibly there is a place that we belong. But the question is, are we humble enough to actually listen to these people and interrogate that which they are saying? Have I really absconded my own responsibility? Because if that is what is being pointed, my obligations, I have to fulfill them. So that really, I wish we can have human humility, just to listen and analyze and interrogate, and whatever we find it there, like Buddha said, question it. Okay. And whatever you find to be true and self-evident and adding value to human life, believe in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good. And by the way, Wakili, he said he is a former altar boy.
Yes.
All right? And he's given us an appraisal of what he believes the church is on a scale of 10. Where can you put them now in terms of their contribution?
Give them half.
You give them half, 50. So that's coming from an altar boy. But let me put it this way, okay? And with all fairness, you see, if you look at the setup of the media, for example, in this country, on Sundays, if you look at all the media houses, what do you see? Church programs. Yeah. Okay? So, what the church perhaps might be doing, before you give your take, is if they are not coming to us, then we will go to them through these platforms, right? So that need to go outdoor, all right, and join the politicians in the campaign rallies may have diminished. Why? Because they have this comfort of a platform where they now go and sell their language and their spirituality and give their sermons and so on and so forth. So I don't know. I'm not holding their brief, but what are your thoughts after listening to Daktari and Gregory?
I'm intrigued after listening to both of them from their standpoints. It's actually, I'm also a Christian, I need to confess, but my church does not talk politics. So whatever I'm expressing is my own opinion. So,
have they played that role that we saw the clergy play in the 80s when they were struggling and fighting for the emancipation of?
No, they haven't. I looked at people like Njoya, and they were, when I was young, my father used to buy newspapers, so I used to read about them, and the struggle which they put across. Sometime I think at some point he was battered around Parliament Road, and when he was interviewed some days later, I think a while back, he said the man who actually battered him didn't know why he was battering him. And he actually came and confessed that, I didn't know. Me, I was just told to go beat you up. So there's that sense of the church then was playing activism and was together with politicians towards vindicating people to get freedom from the gallows which the then regime had put them. So there was that deliberate move that the church had taken upon itself that, if we don't speak, nobody will speak for our congregation. There's that responsibility. I think that responsibility is what they have dropped. They have either gone for other things, as you have said, that now we can do masses from the public and access whatever it is. And, there's the aspect of them enjoying different preferential treatment as opposed to then. Then the church was activist-like, but now you tend to see a church being business-like. I think so. I don't know whether it's Julian or my friend who was just said that Gregory that the church has gone business. The church for hire, I think it's him. Church for hire. So there's that aspect which we are seeing that if you're doing something and you're a politician, you just need to wave your $1,000 thing, and then the church comes to you and they will be taking it. So that aspect is what I think which is rather conflicting, because the church needs to be in a position where they cannot look like the public. Because if I want to get Gregory, I know I can access him through other means, but the church should be something different.
Let's go now to what the president-elect said in terms of lining up a couple of executive orders once he moves into office. What are the areas where you think he's likely to prioritize in his inbox when he gets to the House on the Hill?
Just before I get there, the aspect of using executive orders is rather interesting, because when Trump got into office, that's what he started. He signed quite a number, which among other things others were actually deemed unconstitutional by the Supreme Court and other courts in the US. So I hope whatever executive orders he wants to come with, there should be none which affects the rights or derogates the rights of Kenyans. That is the first point I would want to put across, because that is very important. Some of the key areas I think I will expect him to start from is the aspect of the youth. He has been very passionate about aspects of the youth. I think we have a lot of funds going around claiming to be affirmative action, that's youth fund, and the executive order should be in line to his manifesto. He should be actually be speaking to that, either amalgamating them and giving some sense of order so that he sets base for whatever it is that he wants to deliver to Kenyans. There's also the aspect of, I think he was very passionate about the judiciary fund, but that I think already has been taken, because the instrument of operationalization of the same has actually been taken. That could have been an area which I expected him to also come in. And there's the thing of the hustle, the Mamamboga aspect. I think you will want to see whatever it is that he wants to do, because some of his ideas are actually well known to him. So we will want to see him actually bring them out clearly through this executive order, and then after the executive order, then there will come other legislations to enable it come into fruition. So that because his agenda is a bit radical, so some of the things which will be. Then there's also the aspect of talking about, the people, fertilizer things, the farmers will reduce the inputs, and that is what appeals to the masses down there. So they will want to see, because that does not need a year. You need to hit the ground running. I think it should be one of his first 100 days delivery agenda. So most of the things which will be in his executive order should be rotating around. Whatever it is that is sold to Kenyans first, and then secondly should be the things which is passionate about in delivering within the first 100 days, because that is the yardstick normally with the governments around, or even corporates around the world, to see that he now sinks in and sets his agenda.
Yeah, and Dr. Rowan, you're one of those people who I can say confidently is very strong. You have a strong corporate background. Yeah. So you know the science that delivers results for organizations. And listening to the president say in his first address to the nation, or his first press conference, he says that, a couple of executive orders. Does it strike you like somebody who's already prepared? He has studied, he knows where the pain points are. In the back of his mind, he already knows. Maybe he won't mention in the first presser. But does he strike you like someone who's ready?
Yes, I don't doubt that he knows what he's speaking about, and he knows exactly what he wants to touch or what he wants to twist to make things work. That I give it to him. The extent to which he knows what the reality is, I don't know that, because there's what you want to do, and then there's your reality. Your reality includes what you really have to deal with, the resources that are at your disposal to be able to play with the way that you want. And what would bother me about, he spoke about clarity on what he wants to achieve in the first 100 days, and even as a management principle, that is very admirable. He talked about what he wants to achieve in the midterm and then the long term. Over a space of 2 years, I think if I'm not wrong, that is what he said. But I'm still very eager to find out the numbers that he says that he has run, and he understands them very well. I'd like him to share that so that we can also see whether what we are being told about is practical and it can actually be executed. And those are the challenges that you face when you're in the corporate world. Having said that, I see 2 areas as being critical for him to focus on. His manifesto put aside, you have to deal with the debt question. You have to deal with the debt question. Yeah. Even at a personal level, if you're suffocating with debt, there's only so much you can do. So I've been very interested to find out what is your agenda towards redeeming us from this overwhelming debt situation that we are in. Because if you get that right, then you can begin to give us a bit of space as citizens, some breathing space. Because we're struggling the way we are now because of the obligation we have to debt. That's my submission. Besides debt, even before you go to his manifesto, then I would also talk about the question of efficiency. How much better can you run government, and how much better can you run government services? If you're being told that corruption is happening left, right, and center, there's no doubt there's also a lot of leakages within the entire government processes. Then my priority would be put the right technology in place so that we have the right levels of efficiencies, and then we have less wastage. And then if you have less wastage, then you have a lot more money at your disposal to deal with. So Tom, to your point, I don't doubt he will do a good job, but I'm very, very keen to know what is his plan with the debt, and then what is he going to do about the hemorrhage that we are seeing. I mean, the outgoing president spoke about losing how much? 2 billion?
2 billion.
That speaks to efficiency and the technology that we are using to run our business.
Let me ask you. He has the benefit of incumbency. He's part of the presidency. He's the deputy president.
Correct, yeah.
All right? So he must know what is ailing this country. He must know what is ailing Kenya. And against that background, I see somebody who has the benefit of very quickly knowing the transformational turnpoints.
I want to react to that very quickly.
Please do.
There's a difference between political rhetoric and governance and management. And Gregory, the sooner our politicians separate the two, the better. So as a politician, I can promise you anything. You get what I mean? But the reality of it comes now when you're in office. and issues of management and governance come to play. So I would be very hesitant to agree with you. I'm not in a hurry to agree with you, but Gregory, I don't know if you agree, but
there is something very, very important in our country. Yeah. When I look at the Vision 2030, it was a very beautiful, very
fantastic
beautiful
document. Yeah,
it still is.
And it still is. Yeah. But there is something that they have to think about: the mental mind shift. All right. As a leader, as the president-elect, he may be wishing a lot of things that are good. But if he does not engage the populace and build a mental mind shift, believe you me, we will start lamenting. We will start saying, we wished we were taken at a speed of 20 kilometers per hour, because this gentleman maybe is taking us at 100 kilometers per hour. So there is need for him to understand the kind of populace that is there, where they are, and where he wants to actually take the country. And for me, the mental mind shift is very, very, very important. Very, very important. Because it will create energy.
It will create energy.
It will create focus. It will create synergy. It will create goodwill. It will create work. It will create basically all the tenets of really a successful society. So I think for me, top on his list, I think even the dead, even the young people, even the women, and every aspect that he wants, he has to actually think about the mental mind shift of the kind of electorate that he has acquired. Where are they? How do they relate with the government? How do they perceive the government? Because at the end of the day, when he will be sworn in the office as a president, he will be the sole responsibility of everything that goes in the government.
And he becomes the president of even those people who didn't vote for him. But we saw Kibaki doing some magic when he came in 2000. He found an economy that was really,
Tom, if I may, I think I have some sense of confidence in the man. Where I'm coming from is the fact that given what he has been able to do previously as minister, I remember when he was Minister for Education briefly, there was that element of you finishing high school and staying outside for too long, 2 years, which was not explained because of something which happened, I think, in the 80s. And people were sticking to it, that, you do 2 years. It's like a kind of a punishment, like you're in prison for 2 years.
Let me stop you there, because I need someone to come and fix your mic. And by the way, Wakili, this was what you were talking about. Remember?
Yes.
We were talking about the timelines. In the event that there is a petition that goes to the Supreme Court, how will it look like? What will the timelines be? When do you start? And what are the provisions of the law? So, if you see here, to file and serve, filing a petition challenging an election, you need 7 days, and you did indicate that. All right? And those 7 days begin when? From the date of the declaration. By IBC, which is basically today. Today, isn't it?
Yes.
All right? And the provision of the law is the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, the article, I think, is 140.
Yes, that's actually 140.
140, isn't it?
Yes.
The Supreme Court Presidential Election Petition Rules of 2017, Rule 6. The second one? The second one is...
I cannot be able
petition
to
serves. The petitioner has to serve the respondent. And you said that, by the way.
Yes.
And he has to do it. He's given a day.
Yeah, he has a day, 24 hours to.
And if he doesn't do it within a day,
he has to prove that he has actually tried to
whatever.
Because
you remember CJ Emeritus.
Yes.
Yeah. You remember the other Raila petition? It was done outside the window.
Yes. You come to court and explain that I've been unable to serve this because of 1, 2, 3. Okay. There's also before then there was Wetangula trying to serve Moi.
Yeah.
When he was defending.
Oh my goodness.
When he was defending, and for a year he could not be able to get Moi to serve. And interesting enough, Wetangula acted for Moi.
He had acted for Moi
in the Golden Bar.
In many matters.
But then when he's acting for Moi, he cannot be able to access Moi for a year.
No, but let I mean, look at the setup around a president.
But if we are my client, we should be having some talking rapport.
No, he's the president. His name is the president.
But that was back then.
Okay.
That was back then.
All right, okay, no problem. So the time of filing that petition is 1 day, as Wakili says, inside 24 hours. And what provision of law does it sit on? The Supreme Court
presidential election rules.
It's also the one of 2017.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of these ones coming through in 2017, isn't it?
That is when we had the Supreme Court presidential election petition rules. Those are actually rules. That's when they were formulated.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you want to respond to petition filed and served,
you have 4 days. Huh?
You have 4 days.
Yeah.
From which date?
And then from the date of service.
From the date of service.
Yes.
Which rule is that? 2017 again.
It's 2017, Rule 11.
Rule 11.
Yes.
The fourth one, the rejoinder, filed and served.
Yes. 1 day, 24 hours.
Another day.
Yes.
24 hours.
Yes.
Date
from
of
the date of service
really
of the response.
Yeah. Of the response.
Really, really tight.
Yes.
So it sits on the same provision of law, the Supreme Court 2017. The fifth one is the interlocutory application filed and served.
Applications, yes.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Interlocutory application, if somebody is trying to raise a preliminary issue.
Yeah.
For example, saying that whatever matter you've brought to court does not deserve to be in court.
Yeah.
Or I was not properly served. That's where somebody now comes and says, this case cannot be able to proceed because I was not actually properly served, or I have not received a here because I had somebody tell me, but I have not seen the document.
I've not seen the document.
Yes, and or any other mitigating issue which somebody will want to raise.
And we hear that a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially when you're, evading service.
It's very common.
Yeah? It wasn't me.
Yes.
I loved that song. It's a song that's why you remember that song.
I do.
It was played in the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah, so the next one is what? Third party, friend to the court, applications filed and served?
Yes, third party, we have the amicus curiae now. This is where they come in.
What is amicus curiae?
These are friends of the court who have something they can contribute to the court.
Okay.
Either in academia, or somebody has written a book about elections, especially around the same issues which are being contested.
Okay.
So they can be able to make an application to court.
Okay, I ask that because we are beaming to the remotest areas in this country. So we have some people who don't have the benefit of understanding that. Then there's, of course, the pre-trial conference.
Yes.
Hey, Wakili, this one is 8 days. Yeah, see, I'm saying here, pre-trial conference, 8 days. And what is
the date of filing the petition?
Yeah, from the date of filing the petition.
Yeah, it should be on the 8th day from the date of filing the petition.
Oh, it should be on the 8th day?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
From the date of filing.
Of filing the petition?
Yes.
Okay, and it also sits on the same rule of 2017.
Yes.
The Supreme Court.
Yes.
Now hearing, and by the way, this thing of hearing, my goodness, it takes so
I need
long
to say
before you
something
get to
about
that
the
stage.
pre-trial conference.
Okay.
That is where now they do housekeeping. You agree on the time, you agree on whether everybody has received all the documentation, you agree on any other issue which has not been done. If somebody has not received any service, then an order is given that please ensure that you have everything we are raring to go, so that when you hit the hearing, you shouldn't be raising any funny issues like those.
Okay. Oh, the wisdom. What's the wisdom behind that? Not to waste the court's time.
Not to waste court's time.
Oh, so you come prepared.
Yes. So that at the tail end, on the last day of hearing, you don't say, actually, I was never given this document, so I actually pray for time to actually go do one. Or in the process of hearing, you actually say, I'm not aware of that, If there are some key issues which you are lined up in your petition, you need to ensure that they are properly guided by the documentations you need. And this documentation needs to be served. If there's a key document you want to rely on, you need to serve it to the other party, so that if you don't want to use it, then don't put it there. Because if you put it there and don't serve, then the other party is going to say, in the pre-trial conference, we don't have it. If you actually insist to go on without serving them, then you cannot use it. As you could have anticipated, you'll be told you didn't serve, so desist from mentioning or using that document.
But let me ask you, because I know the court also has a brain.
Yes.
There are instances where you come in the 11th hour, all right? You didn't serve the other party, but you kind of agree with them and tell them, listen, these are the circumstances why I didn't serve, all right? Can I do it now?
Yes, you
Who
can
determines?
actually serve them in court.
In court.
There is the aspect of serving them in court because that is in the presence of the court. So you just take the document and say, actually even sometimes court says, why are we wasting time? If you have the document, serve them.
Yeah, just give them there.
That is an easier way. But legally you're supposed to have done it before coming to court. But if you come to court and you have it, you can actually be told, since the hearing has not started, actually serve them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although that's a disadvantage to the other side, isn't it? Because you need time to
because now you cannot be able to proceed on that document. You'll have to give them time to go and read it and digest
and internalize it.
There's an aspect of what you've actually raised where the pre-trial conference is very important. You remember the 2013 petition by was it NASA? What was it? By Raila Odinga.
Yeah.
You know, they at the very late in the day they showed up with an affidavit which was 900 pages.
Yeah.
While the court should actually be making its decision. You see, you know, who will start reading such a document? That now upsets the whole court and everybody says now, you know the rules. That's why we came in 2017. We had the rules which are very clear to avoid such situations.
Yeah, and in fact, these are guidelines, by the way, that was signed by Honorable Justice Martha Koome, the Chief Justice and the President of the Supreme Court. Okay, so it's more of, smoothening the rough edges, building on the go, and so on.
There's been an argument that time is so limited that we need to give it maybe a month. Or we go the Ghanaian way. Ghana has a very interesting way of doing their petitions whereby whoever is the president has to be sworn in procedurally, and then you put your petition, and now it's supposed to be done after 6 months. The decision needs to come out. Once it has come out, then you change the oath which the president took. If you actually found that he actually never won rightly, you change the oath and give the person who the court has said deserved the win, which is rather interesting. I don't think whether you can be able to go that way. But then I think we just need a little bit stretching of the time because it becomes really very tight to actually. Now, it behooves whoever is imagining there's going to lose an election to actually have his legal team well in advance. Oh. Yes. And do you collect the evidence and collate it before the decision is actually announced?
Is announced. And you remember even Dr. Rowan telling us, that the Azimio deputy running mate, says that part 2.
Let's hope that's what she was trying to speak while not speaking.
No, you're just analyzing. I mean, because what else could it be anyway? the announcement has been done, the declaration has been done, so it has to be within this framework of appealing.
So I'm hoping that in the process of, or even before the process, because you need to have your legal team. You need to have your legal team stand by. They need to be collecting the evidence. You need to have your lawyers as agents on the ground, collect the evidence from where it happens. Yes, let them be part of the process. So that now it's a lawyer, you bring them, you brainstorm, and actually be able to put these documents ready. Because
so it means
it's a tedious process.
It's massive.
It's massive.
Because how many? 200?
You remember last time Raila was giving the documents at the dead of the night, so late in the day.
And the most logical explanation would have been the nature of having to consolidate and put those things together.
It's labor intensive.
It's labor intensive. It consumes a lot of time. It's like an election. You don't sleep. You are in a room, either a warehouse or something, putting documents together and checking them through, because the Supreme Court is a very thorough court. You don't want to show up with a document which in one document you have it at page 56, another one it's at page 100. So each document has got to be in the right place.
By the way, I believe what you say, that the Supreme is very thorough, because based on the questions that were being posed sometimes.
And because of the timelines, you have a compendium of this size, nobody wants to read it. You just direct us, where are you talking from? Which document are you referring? You tell them it's page 56, they go there. And then they get what you're talking about. But if in my document is 56, his document is reading 14, and they will tell you this is a joke. Carry these things of yours and go. Because now, we're not supposed to arrange the documents for you. That's your work. So putting those things together, For example, dealing with downloading all the Form 34 is going to the ground, getting agents to actually testify to what happened. Because you need real evidence, or people to actually swear affidavits.
Okay.
Because in the Supreme Court, really, there's an aspect of swearing, of testifying is not there, but you need to have people to swear affidavits.
To swear affidavits.
Yes, that is what truly happened, and I was there.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for walking us through the Supreme Court presidential election petition timelines. But then you make it sound so easy. Do I walk back, my director? Huh?
That's our real.
No, you make it sound so easy. And in fact, what I wanted to ask you is, then the judiciary. I want you to appraise the judiciary. I don't know. You're an officer of the court. You can't appraise yourself.
Yes.
You can't appraise yourself.
So, no, but I'm a practitioner. I'm an independent practitioner, so I can judge them from where I sit.
Yeah, because listening to you, one gets a sense that it is worth going to collect that material and go for a petition. Why? The Supreme Court, as a port of call, is a place that you should have the confidence and the faith that they will handle the matter.
But only if you have a case.
Only if you have a case.
And then it's not actually only the Supreme Court. We are going to see, you have seen in Kirinyaga, I think the loser saying, I think this thing was not done properly. We have a couple of so even in the High Court, we have very strict timelines, because within 3 months the case should have been heard and finished. Then another 3 months for appeal.
But the way I've always wanted to ask this.
The timelines are still tight for everyone.
I've always wanted to ask this. You hear petitions of candidates losing elections in this and that place, being heard and determined very, very fast.
Expeditiously, yes.
Yeah, but you find Mama Mboga has a matter that resides there, I don't know for how long.
30 years.
For 30 years. And these things, by the way, these are things that you hear somebody died.
Yes.
Yeah, because of the frustrations of having to travel from Meru to wherever. There's something on the screen there. That's the spread. Just look at it. Yeah, the balance of power in the National Assembly.
Oh, that's interesting.
Are you seeing it? Look at Kenya Kwanza. 159. Can you see that far? You see there? 159. Look at Azimio. 162. And then the independents. This is another story that I'd like to hear your views on. The independents. Okay? We have 12 of them. Of course, we're waiting to hear who will be nominated. Hey, Gregory.
Yes.
Would you, your fingers crossed, you could be one of them.
No.
No. Politics, no for you. Why? But you strike me as somebody who's ecologically balanced. And who understands the concept of smart minority and the expectant majority.
Yes.
Yeah? Why would it be a no? And then, so why point a finger? Because you see, we keep saying that look at the caliber of, are they young? Do they have that radical muscle to go and withstand the pressures that come with, for example, the jobs in parliament of oversight and so on and so forth? Okay?
Yes.
But I'm listening to you and you're saying no.
Yes.
So that's the gap they're seeing and they're coming in. Very young.
My coat is cut on a different...
But you know that question was not...
On a different line.
On a different line, I think. And I respect you. Yeah, you're brilliant. You're brilliant at what you do. So that's the spread. Okay, Kenya Kwanza doing 159. So it means the president-elect has the might that he requires in the back end to facilitate his job as the fifth. Wakili.
Yes, I think looking at the numbers, he has the muscle. He has a clean side of his coalition, which is going to rely predominantly. You realize these are the people now whom you will see appear in various committees as chairman and because they are given priority.
Okay.
So once you see those people, then he has also almost half the side, which he has. If it's a bill, it has to be a majority. So you will still need members of the other side.
Okay.
So you will need an equal effort to actually convince a sizable number for people to actually vote yes, because with these numbers only you can't be able to pass bills the way you would want to expect. So you will need a sizable number or convince members of the opposite side to also weigh in its numbers. And interesting is the aspect of the independents. This time independents are going to have their own caucus.
Yeah, the independents.
Yes, a caucus for the independents. They're going to choose their own leader who is going to actually be able to shepherd their agenda. So they will be able to buy in either to the side of government or the side of, depending on how they have caucused. So the aspect of caucusing is going to be very important, and this now plays down to the kind of leaders. I think we saw Duale do a very good job in the Jubilee government, and we will want. I don't know whether they will return him to the same position, but it's their decision to make. But you need somebody who is seasoned. Yeah, you see, there is a possibility that most of the members of parliament who have come in are actually greenhorns. Yeah, and once you have greenhorns, they have not understood the grasp of the standing orders. Yeah, so you actually need to train them and school them, and takes quite some time. 6 months to, and if you need to pass quick bills, then you're going to have a challenge. So you will need somebody who is seasoned, who is going to call these guys to order and tell them, guys, this is what we do, 1, 2, 3. So once we go in, this is how we behave. Okay. So that the agenda sails through quickly, and then you're able to move things in government quickly.
Yeah, and you talk about seasoned as we wind down and come to the end of this interactive segment. The president-elect, someone would argue, is seasoned, is experienced, he has been in there, he understands the nuts and bolts of statecraft, he's been a politician, member of parliament, and he's ascended, you have seen that. He was a deputy president, a heartbeat away from the president, and now he's the president-elect. And when he was giving his acceptance speech, he said, and I want to quote, "We will have a cup of tea," when he called the Right Honorable. And he also said that he reminded us of what the Right Honorable said, that, we should, we can shake hands, okay? So as you conclude and wrap up, when you look into the horizon, what are your expectations, and what do you look forward to? And I want to start with Daktari.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Yeah, I listened to parts of the president-elect speech, and there's an interview he did, I think, with some of the media houses late this evening, and a lot of his pronouncements were very encouraging, and that for me gives a lot of hope. That captures my expectations as well. When he speaks about service to all, not only those that voted for him, that's very humbling for me, and it's a good show of solidarity with the Kenyan people. He also spoke about deep state, and the context in which he spoke about it was also very profound, because he demystified it. We were getting to a point where we were beginning to believe that the deep state or the system is part of our electoral process. And we had gotten to a time where we are actually embracing that as a way of life. If you listen to many commentators, especially those who were pro Azimio, they looked very comfortable with the question of the deep state.
And confident?
Yeah.
And very confident?
And very confident about it. And I think he spoke to it not at length, but I think it demystifies that. And it reinforces the fact that the vote or the voice of the people is what really counts at the end of the day. And that must encourage a lot of people. He spoke about keeping the promises.
Can I just, before you move to the next point,
sure.
On the deep state, because I remember C.S. Matiang'i also coming out and asking, deep state in Uganda, how does it look? And that is the CS in charge of security. And I think he also debunked of deep state.
Yeah, and for me that was a good thing even for Matiang'i to do, Dr. Matiang'i to do. Because I don't know, I was beginning to get the feeling that it's becoming, the concept is becoming institutionalized, and it's being drummed in us that we must accept that as part of our electoral process. That's how I'd come to understand it. But I'm happy that has been debunked. The other thing that he said that I thought for me gives a lot of hope is he talked about commitment of keeping the promises that he gave. I thought that was good, but the challenge around what should be his priority still remains. That still remains. And finally, the other thing that I can say that I liked what he said, when you talk about the future of opposition, it was going to be very key in our government, in our country going forward. When he talked about his reluctance to do the handshake, and because the handshake would kill oversight, that excited me.
That was exciting.
Yeah, that was exciting for me.
Does it threaten this philosophy that we were developing of handshake, let's get together?
I think in spirit, handshake is good.
Yeah.
But the mechanics of it can destroy. Critique me from a distance. Yeah, that keeps me on my toes. So the only appeal I would make is that the president-elect should set the tone, and I think the best place to start that from is the nomination that he makes to the people that will be on the side of the coalition to be the Senate and the National Assembly. I feel very strongly about that because we must have fidelity to the Constitution.
True.
And I'm sure the Constitution envisages certain groups as the ones that should benefit from that provision. Yeah, so I have in mind marginalized groups such as the Ogiek. I can't wait for a time when I'm told the Ogiek is actually represented in Parliament and their interests can be championed by their own. So this for me will be the litmus test, Gregory.
Yes.
Whether we are actually ready for that radical change that we've been speaking about. Yeah. So Tom, those are my immediate thoughts.
Those are Those are your immediate thoughts.
Yeah.
I think for me, there's something I was trying to say before was I think my mic didn't work well. I have a sense or a feeling that Dr. Ruto, the president-elect, is somebody who is ready to go because he has wanted this thing for long. He's been preparing himself for the same. Now, we can just use the comment that they all come at the man. So this is his opportunity. He doesn't want to waste it. We are actually likely to see a lot from his side because he's a very mechanical person and a very, very fast thinker and a good organizer. Having those traits is not easy in one politician. That's why he was able to actually canvass the whole country and be able to garner, according to ABC, the majority of the vote. And seeing that and then spreading the agenda whereby you can actually, as an individual, move an agenda which is associated to you and you sell it to people, which people at the start people thought that this does not work, but then he emboldened it to a level that people were now actually singing it. Is one thing which we have to give it to him, that he's a man who is ready and daring to go, and we hope that all works for him because it's also for our country, because now whether you voted him or you did vote him, whether you like him or not, his decisions or his policies are going to affect you directly. As a people, we need to give him that particular goodwill so that he can be able to actually move this country. He has been talking of moving this country ahead, so we want to give him that opportunity and see how far it takes us, because we are really in a very bad situation that we don't have time to start now again engaging in side shows the way we have had previously, because now we'll be getting deep into the mud.
That's a good place to leave it for you. Bad situation, so make it good. By the way, when you're talking about the deep state thing, what came to my mind was, is there a possibility, before I come to Gregory to make his final comments, is there a possibility that when you internalize, we're with deep state, there's a sense in which it makes you remove your foot off the pedal. And then ultimately, these are some of the things we are seeing that affected voter turnout.
I wouldn't want to comment beyond that.
Gives you the comfort.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. All right. Yeah.
Thank you for being extremely careful.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Your final comment.
Asante sana. So basically, where we are as a country.
What are you seeing in the horizon now that we have a president-elect?
My desire is, and my prayer is that the president-elect to actually, first of all, know that he has inherited a very divided country, and he has to reach out. Find that human humility to actually reach out to the other side, despite the petitions, but that express that redemptive goodwill to really work with his competitors. For me, that is one. Two, I would wish to have a president who engages the populace, i.e., basically shaping the narrative that he wants to be perpetuated in his presidency. So I would wish to see a president coming out and really explaining, this is where we are, these are challenges that we are facing, guys. Wrap up your boots, pull up your socks so that we can move on. I would wish to see a president who is actually inspiring hope once more within the populace. Yes, it's there, but it's divided. So for me, having said that, I would wish to see a government that really responds to the issues of wananchi. Wow. Issues that really cater to where their tax is, i.e., when they go to the hospital, will they get medicines? Yeah. When they take their kids to schools, will they have their amenities? Will they have teachers? Will they have basically a system that really runs for them? And for me, I wish him all the best. And and Kenya is bigger than any one of us. And my desire also is that he recognizes the honor that the Kenyan people have actually bestowed upon him and his family to take us to the great heights. I love the words of Julius Nyerere, who says that Christians pray looking at heaven, but Kenyans will pray looking at State House.
Wow, let's leave it there, because that's tweetable.
Yes.
That can be tweeted. If you add anything, you finished it so well. And I also want to thank you all, really.
Thank you.
Most sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. I must confess, I called you late, and you responded. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for...
Thanks for having us as well.
Thank you for
such an honor.
For coming. Thank you, Wakili, for coming and, playing your part in national duty.
Yeah.
Dr. Julian Rowan, conversational expert. Once again, thank you.
Thank you.
Gregory Ngugi, counseling psychologist. Asante sana kaka.
Asante.
Umeifanya vizuri. Siongeze. Gibson Gisore, political analyst and an advocate. I want to thank all of you.
Thank you.
Okay, for coming. And I also want to thank the viewers. This coverage has been one wow. Okay, the 2022 election coverage has been something. And we had fun, we enjoyed it. And so on behalf of the Kenya Decides team, I want to thank each one of you for tuning in, making KBC your channel of choice. It was difficult. We sometimes got flags from you, but we want to thank you because it's those flags that we then incorporate in our growth plans. So thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Tomboy. I've enjoyed it. But this is what we want to leave you with. What the president-elect now says he has lined up, okay? A number of executive orders. We did speak about that, and they are geared towards taking the country forward following his win. An announcement by IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati. You remember he really thanked the people of Kenya for expressing their will, in these elections that were just concluded. The results came out. It was in his favor. He showed magnanimity. He added that there is no time to waste, okay? That as soon as he gets into the office, he will hit the road running and start addressing those issues. Some of them we discussed them here with the panelists. Others you may be having them in your heart, but we now know that there's a president-elect. Those who perhaps might felt that their candidates didn't win, we understand that there are the legal options that are available. So I want to thank you so much and leave you with that report from Nairobi, Kenya, Broadcasting House. Good night this morning. Bye-bye.
Addressing the media shortly after he's accepted
20 years ago, a US-led coalition chased the Taliban's first regime from power in the wake of 9/11. The militants fled deep into rural areas or neighbouring Pakistan. But now they're back in power and in control of the capital. Many fighters discovering city life for the very first time.
د موږ نه په نور ولایتو کې موږ نه دومره ویره نه وه لکه د کابل کې ځکه دې کې 10 کاله امریکایانو د دغو استخباراتو داسې پوچ ویل کړي و موږ دپاره داسې تبلیغ شوی و د موږ په خیال.
The residents of Kabul have had their reality turned upside down. Many are deeply worried about the Taliban's ability to govern.
We should have relation with other foreign countries. We should have economic system in Afghanistan. We should have education system in Afghanistan. And also the ladies should go out and get education.
خاطره ای که ما از طالبان داریم انتحار، کشتن آدم‌های، کشتن نیروهای امنیتی حکومت قبلیه و به این خاطر چیز طبیعیه که ترس به دل آدم ایجاد میشه. امیدواری های زیادی هم برای ما میدن، به شهروندان امیدواری میدن که ما تغییر کردیم و ما او طالب های 20 سال قبل نیستیم.
The Taliban once spread fear in Kabul, staging suicide attacks. Now they're policing the streets of the capital.
الحمدلله سکلنا کابل فتح شوی دا مشکلات نشته. بعضی د غلو ستونزې وي خو الحمدلله دغه د مخنیوي لپاره موږ پوره تدابیر نیولې دي او د شپې ګزمې او چکپینونه د ټول موږ د بعضی غلو په خاطر باندې دي. نور ان شاء الله څه خطر بالکل نشته. السلام علیکم ورحمت الله. خیر.
We head on with Kabul District 12's new Chief of Police and his deputy. The Afghan capital is notorious for kidnappings and theft. The Taliban plan to make that a thing of the past.
انشاءالله دغه محکمه هم شروع کیږي لکه څنګه چې مخکې یو غل لاس کټ کېده دا به کیږي کوم یو چې به قصاص ته هم برابرېږي کوم یو مجرمین چې سنګسار دي د سنګسار هغه حدود ته برسېږي
چې په عام منظر کې وي نو ډېره ښه ده چې ټول خلک عبرت واخلي او که په پټه کې وي بیا خو خلک عبرت نه اخلي عام منظر کې او شریعت هم داسې وایي چې په عام منظر کې نیسي.
In front of the Taliban and our camera, no one is willing to criticize the new regime. In fact, conservative elders are full of praise.
دا زمونږ نه دی دا د الله پاک کتاب حق دی هغه موږ مسلمانان یو هغه موږ منلی
حالا ما خوش هستم الحمدلله که قرآن کریم در وطن ما چیز میشه ما بسیار خوش هستم.
السلام علیکم. مولوی صاحب سلام علیکم. اغلو راجکا
The Taliban cells are filling up. In this one, more than a dozen men, most accused of petty crimes and unpaid debts. It's not clear how long they'll be detained.
Sure.
This man is accused of armed robbery, wielding a knife, which he denies.
او زه خپل چاقونه خبر نه چا راوړم ورشه چا راوړم صبر
وې دروا وې ځه څه ته باندې ثابت سي کوم غلا نو شرط به خپل محکمه داسې امر مرتکب کلاس کړي لاس به کړي کې په خیر کړي خو به کړي البته که ثابت نشي نو بیا څه نشته.
مردم از سیستم قضایی طالبان به خاطر از اینکه قضایی که بر ما می آمدن اولا خب از طرف ارگان‌های عدلی و تحقیق می شد، ولی امروز رقم نیست. قسمی که چند روز پیش هم شاهد هستیم، همه ما در هرات یک تعداد از باندهای اختطافچی را گرفته بودن، در روی سرک هم محاکمهشان کرده بودن، هم جزا را بالش تطبیق کرده بودن و به دار آویخته بودن. ولی قضایی به یک تحقیق و ضرورت داره که ملامت از سلامت معلوم شونه.
This woman will only speak out anonymously because she is afraid for her life. She used to work as a terrorism judge at the US military base in Bagram and sent hundreds of Taliban to jail.
در جلسات حرکاتشان می دیدیم. وقتی که ما حکم خدا صادر میکردیم، باز اموج شفایی ما را تهدید میکرد که اگر احیانا روز اونا آزاد شوند، باز برای ما کار خواد داشتن و این رقم آزاد ما را نخواد ماندن. و حال هم میترسیم چرا که امو زندانی کلشان آزاد هستن. نه تنهایی که اونا آزاد هستن، بلکه گروه طالبان یا گروه تروریستی طالب هستن، اونا حتی در قدرت هستن.
This judge is living in hiding. The Taliban has announced an amnesty for their enemies, but human rights groups have documented numerous reprisal killings.
نیازی چیست که شما باید کسایی را جستجو بکنه که در دولت کار کرده. عفو عمومی است، کلگی عفو شده.
اگر طالبا بخواین امو رژیم 20 سال پیش خود تطبیق کنند، یعنی اگر جامعه بخواین که فقط مرد سالار باشه، نمیتونه که مقاومت کنه در افغانستان. مادرم است، پدرم است، 6 دانه خواهرم است، 2 دانه برادرم هستن که اینا همهشون بیکار هستن، ولی کسی دیگری نیست که خانواده را تنبیل کنن. ولی اگر شرایط هر قدرم که سخت باشه، از دیگر لحاظش ما مجبور هستیم برای کار.
Every day, Amina waits inside for the minibus to work. The streets are the realm of men. She's being bussed to her office with her female colleagues for safety, so they're not out alone.
Salam, doctora. Salam. Salam.
Aged 22, she's one of the few female TV reporters still working in Afghanistan, despite all the challenges.
لباسایمون تغییرات آمده. مثلا ما در یگان جای میریم، حتی سر می لباسایی که فعلا میپوشیم سر ما انتقاد میکنن، میگه باید چپنای کلان دراز بپوشین یا روی تان پد کنین بخیه. حالا هم فعلا چی هست انتقاد میکنن و در لباس ما در کل همگی تغییرات آمده، همه دخترها.
Amina works for Tolo News, the biggest and most popular Afghan network. In the 11 years since it was launched, 11 Tolo employees have been killed in suicide bomb attacks, some of them targeted and carried out by the Taliban.